Sling TV has something for everyone. It really just depends on what kind of mood you're in. But no matter what you're looking for, you can watch it with Sling. Sports, news, and today's hottest shows. Plus, you can explore thousands of movies and TV shows on demand. And getting Sling is easy. Sign up and start watching in just 5 minutes. Stream on any device and record up to 50 hours with your included DVR space. Plus, you won't get locked into a long-term contract. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. Welcome to the Andy Staples Show presented by Sling. It is a Monday in December, and I think that's going to mean from now on that it's a Portal Authority Day, that Max Olson will be joining us because, I don't know, Max, does it seem like there's more action on Monday? Like, the portal opened on Monday last week. Obviously, there was a lot of action that day, but then kind of trailed off throughout the week, and then boom, boom, tons of big names jumping in and jumping out this Monday.
Yeah, I talked to one recruiting staffer a couple weeks ago who kind of predicted they wondered if this Monday would be an active one because you've got coaches out on the road. Maybe that leads to some more conversations and flirting with high school coaches about, hey, have you told this guy we would take him and stuff like that. You kind of wondered, would there be maybe a next round of this? It wasn't too crazy in terms of like quantity today, but certainly when a guy like Grayson McCall goes in, that gets everyone's attention.
Exactly. I mean, and there's 2 Coastal Carolina players in the portal right now that I would imagine a lot of the country wants, and Grayson McCall and Josiah Stewart, the edge rusher.
Mm-hmm.
I think USC's after Josiah Stewart. So it is pretty amazing how this works. Grayson McCall was a guy that people were coming after the last couple of years trying to get him to transfer. It feels like as long as Jamie Chadwell was at Coastal, Grayson was at Coastal. Now that Jamie Chadwell's at Liberty, Grayson's on the road.
Yeah, I mean he's opened the door up at least to have these conversations with the schools that were trying to court him a year ago. And you know, Andy, that how hard Jamie Chadwell and his people fought to get another year with Grayson McCall. And so now that he's at Liberty, I mean, yeah, obviously you could link him and say, yeah, that would be a natural fit to go there. But certainly, like when you think about
my guess is there's a lot of folks that are going to want to get Grayson McCall on their campus.
A lot of Power 5 schools that are on the market right now. Some we know for sure are out there. Yeah. Some probably are kind of lurking. And that's the kind of player. I'm not sure that he knocks the top guy off your board necessarily at all of those places, but he's certainly a guy that you're going to call and you're going to break down the tape because as we know, like he's not just like some system guy. He's one of the most efficient players in the country.
Does he like knock off Devin Leary as the top quarterback in the portal now?
Yeah, we're kind of all waiting for the dominoes on that, right? Of like kind of who's going to be the guy that sets this off. And, as we sit here today, you kind of wonder, like, could that be Devin Leary potentially going to Kentucky that would kind of get this thing going in terms of Notre Dame and Florida and these other schools that we feel like are in the market here, making some decisions on who they're going to take or getting kind of locking in on that guy. And so, I don't know if I depending on what you're running, like you can make the argument. Yeah, if you've seen Grayson McCall play and you love what he's doing, he might be a guy that you're calling him, and maybe you're ghosting the guy you were talking to a week ago.
This is, Max, kind of like recruiting a little bit at high school recruiting, where one person makes a decision to go to one place, and then all of a sudden it's like off to the races now. Like
it all happens over the course of like 8 days. Instead of 2 years.
But it is funny, though, like that one person in that span of 8 days can make one decision that kind of resets the board of who's playing quarterback where for an entire season.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you're right. And obviously there's, in some cases there are schools that are, are trying to make that high school versus transfer decision right now, too, in terms of the quarterback take. Like I know Virginia Tech took 2 in the past 24 hours here with Pop Watson and then with Kyron Drones from Baylor. Like these decisions are kind of happening in a parallel way in some cases where like you see a Dante Moore taking a visit to UCLA. Well, what's UCLA doing? I mean, is the right play. I mean, obviously if you can get a Dante Moore, then you're going to run that race right to the end. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are looking at UCLA and saying,
if you're Oregon, do you go get DJ if you lose Dante Moore? Like,
or Hudson
how's that work?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And so
like if you're UCLA, you take both if you could, right? DJ and Dante.
Do you want to tell either one of them no? Probably not. Right? I mean, until you get Dante signed on the dotted line, right? Like you'd probably try and take him. So these things are going on. These conversations are going on at the exact same time about what's our plan for next year. But then does that undercut our plan for the future, or is there some guy out there that, we can try and maybe start next year as a freshman that would matter more?
It is amazing in how fast all this happened because, you're right. We don't know because you got Notre Dame. Kentucky seems to be a player in all this. And
Yeah.
obviously they take Will Levis out of the transfer portal from Penn State. He becomes a prospective first-round draft pick. We think he's going to be a first-round draft pick. And I imagine that makes that a fairly attractive destination. The Kentucky fan sites are reporting that Devin Leary is going to visit this week, but also there are reports that Graham Mertz is in the mix for Kentucky. So you've got that. You've got the Notre Dame thing, which we know they want somebody.
Hey,
it's crazy.
Speaking of the high school and the portal recruiting running on parallel paths here, we've got Deshaun McCullough committed to Oklahoma now with his brother Day going with him to Oklahoma in the 23 class.
Now, is Dad still coaching at Notre Dame, Dylan McCullough?
So Dylan worked with Jay Valai in the NFL, so I think that is part of the connection there. But yeah, naturally people are going to connect those dots of his dad going to Oklahoma too.
Or maybe the two kids are just like, you know what, we did the Indiana thing. I think we're ready to just play. Love you, Dad.
But Dad was working in Indiana, then Dad bounced because he got a job at Notre Dame.
That was the funniest thing about it because Dad went to Indiana and Deshaun was committed to Ohio State when he went to Indiana, I think. And then he flipped to Indiana and then Dad bounced. That was just like, that is cold.
That's your dad, man.
Okay, so we did the loyalty play, and now it's like if Brent Venables is telling you your freshman All-America son could, be his next Isaiah Simmons or whatever, like depending on what role they have for him, you're sort of like, yeah, probably should make the business decision here in terms of who can really take him to the next level in his development.
It did feel like that part of that offense was missing at Oklahoma this year because, those of us who've covered that offense for a long time know it is the one that gains a lot of yards on the ground when it's really working. Like Ole Miss was a really good example this year of how that offense can work on the ground. Oklahoma didn't really do that. They need special backs. I mean, they need offensive linemen too, but they need special backs to make that work.
Yeah, and Oklahoma's going to be one of the more interesting ones. Obviously, when you're not happy with the results of year one, you would think that's a staff. They've had a good number of players go in the portal, as you would expect, in terms of a staff trying to transition the roster. And then, they were a player last year for a lot of guys in terms of just trying to add depth. But I could see them certainly being a really attractive destination for some transfers who probably are being told you can get on the field pretty quickly here right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. South Carolina is another one where there's a lot going on there. Yeah. Jaheim Bell leaves. He lands at Florida State this weekend. He's the tight end that they moved to tailback just to get him touches and because their tailbacks were hurt. Marshawn Lloyd, who was their best tailback, who was hurt a lot at the end of the season, he's in the portal. He announced that on Monday. They hired an OC. They're hiring Dow Loggins from Arkansas, who's the tight ends coach. By the way, Arkansas tight end Trey Knox jumps into the portal. BT Bates pointing that out in our chat on YouTube, and
everyone's making plans.
His position coach is headed to Columbia, so could he be headed to? Because remember, Austin Stogner, the tight end who had been at Oklahoma, who helped get Spencer Rattler to South Carolina, Austin's going back to Oklahoma.
You're describing like the Charlie Kelly, the wall in the basement of the mailroom connecting all the dots here.
I really feel like I am in the FBI.
It's like an episode of Homeland. You're just connecting it all here.
It's incredible. Like it is such a weird ecosystem. Like because I see the Marshawn Lloyd tweet and I'm like, oh my goodness, South Carolina's losing everybody. And then because I'm not on Twitter 24/7, though it may seem that way. And then I look back and there's the Trey Knox thing. I'm like, oh,
well, and like people are very reactive to this stuff, and like some of these are bigger than others. But I was getting a lot of like quote tweets on the Marshawn Lloyd one, being like, "Oh man, I thought things were going pretty well in Columbia, but like this is just how it is now. It's not right. Not every single move, every transaction is a reflection of this thing's going in the tank or something."
And you just got to remember too that people are like just still trying to get used to this because it really is. It is like. Back in the day when somebody transferred, back in the day, I mean, 2 years ago, it was like, there's something terribly wrong here.
Yes.
Yeah. And now it's just kind of like, well, I like palm trees. I might want to.
Well, and like the South Carolina thing's interesting too, because Spencer Rattler's playing in the bowl game. And this is something that Dane Brugler and I have talked about on Prospects to Pros, because Dane has pointed out that the QB class of 2023 in the NFL draft has thinned considerably because some people are coming back, like Michael Penix Jr. is coming back. And there are a few other quarterbacks who would have been later round draft picks. They're not coming out because they have a chance to make some good NIL money, or they have a chance to have a very good season as a senior, and they have the extra year, so they're using it. And so, like, if you're Spencer Rattler, and let's say you have a third consecutive great game, and this one's against Notre Dame, do you go to the NFL? Like, you might have just raised your stock as high as it's going to go at that point.
Yeah, and usually you have somebody there trying to help you make that decision. You know what I mean? I don't know. To me, it's like sometimes the market is every bit as important as how good you are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because we agree that the class next year is probably going to be deeper than the class this year. Although we say that, and there may be guys that are coming back, but like Penix doesn't have another year after this year. So he's going to have to go out. Caleb's going to go out. Drake May's probably going to go out. So, it could be a different story next year. And it may
because all you're doing right now
is trying
to play for to be a third round pick or a fourth round pick for him. So like, to me, like the thing that's interesting about that discussion is, well, Drake May and Caleb are going out next year, but it's like those are going to be the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft probably, or in the top 5. So how much of an impact does it actually have on Spencer Rattler? Like, I think that it's quarterback 5 to 12 that you have to.
He could be quarterback 4 in this draft for all we know if the right team likes him,
and then quarterback 11 next year, even if he has a better season than he did this year.
Right, exactly. So,
well, and that's going to South Carolina was, I mean, let's be real, like that was a business decision about how do we play our way back into first round status here with all the hype that was on Spencer Rattler going into 21, and so now you get a new OC coming in too with NFL experience, so you have to assess. Like, there's just a lot of variables to assess there. But you guys know, like, you think back to this time last year. I mean, why did UCLA take a commitment from Dylan Gabriel? Because they didn't know if their guy was going pro or not. Like, these things are, you kind of like, you want to, you wish there was a clear board of here's who's leaving, here's who's staying, but all that stuff is still playing out right now too.
Yeah, this is going to be and here's the thing, Max, you talked to all these recruiting folks and the ones that are watching the portal, the ones that are recruiting, and you're talking to the guys that are recruiting the high schools. The portal guys, I'm assuming, are going to pick before the high school guys sign, right? So we're going to see a flurry in the next week and a half, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw a flurry on Monday for sure of commitments, and I think that it's so funny. Like, I've talked before on the pod about the difference between the high school recruiting and the transfer recruiting. One thing that you can speak to this, Ari, that's so different about this deal now is it like if you get the first official visit with a kid, you're probably going to get him committed. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's just, that's so how fast this moves now. I mean, and Ari, like there's always the theory of like, okay, do you want to do the official visit in the summer? Do you want to be the last one before signing day? All that kind of stuff. And like, it's the opposite is true in portal recruiting. Like if you get a guy on campus, if you had one on campus this weekend, you were hoping to get him committed and get that resolved so you could move on to the next thing. And so there's a lot of guys that are smartly, especially these like G5 guys who are trying to move up. You probably should grab that spot right now because A, you don't know who else is going to pop up in the portal tomorrow, and B, these staffs are trying to kind of finalize these numbers going into the early signing period. So there's a lot of incentive, especially if you are feeling like, man, I'm pretty lucky to have these 5 offers. I probably shouldn't sit around until mid-January and make a move here. Like there's a lot of incentive to get this done now.
Yeah. It is funny, like because there's multiple theories on the high school level. Yeah, it's like, do you want to have the first impression or the last impression? And I always thought that getting them on campus in the fall was better than doing it in the spring. But getting them in the spring, you can spend more time with them. Like there's all this stuff, and it's like in the portal, it's just like, please come here.
The portal, it's like if you're telling them like, hey, you can come to a bowl practice. All right, yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah, can you show up on this random Tuesday? And we'll show you around, and then you're going to make a decision like on Thursday. And you might visit another school on Wednesday, but we don't know. It is amazing. Let's pause for a second. When we come back, though, I want to see if, Max, you can help us rank the quarterbacks in the portal. And I realize that beauty may be in the eye of the beholder in this case, But I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Good luck with your lukewarm takes on this one, buddy.
Oh, yeah, and we'll also talk a little bit about Mike Leach and explain, as we know what we know and how this all works. We'll be right back. Sling TV has something for everyone. All your favorite shows on your favorite channels, all right at your fingertips. What you watch is up to you. It really just depends on what kind of mood you're in. So if you're looking for sports, Sling's got you covered with pro and college football and basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, golf, racing, and so much more. Sling also has reality TV, so you can keep up with the latest gossip with today's hottest shows on channels like TLC, Bravo, MTV, and more. And don't forget about news. Get up to date with today's most trusted sources like MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News. Feeling adventurous? Explore thousands of movies and shows on demand. So what kind of mood are you in? No matter your answer, Sling has what you need. Getting Sling is easy. Sign up and start watching in just 5 minutes. You can stream on any device, and you can record up to 50 hours with your included DVR space. And the best part, you can pause or customize your subscription at any time. So check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. These days, every potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. You've already used LinkedIn to figure out how to connect to people. Now, use it to find the best job candidate. Add the job that you're hiring for and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile and spread the word fast that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and then figure out who you'd like to hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Andy. That's linkedin.com/Andy to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. linkedin.com/Andy. Welcome back. I see a lot of you guys in the chat talking about Mike Leach, and obviously there's some tweets earlier on Monday night that said some stuff. Here's how we handled this sort of thing. I'm not in any rush to report anyone's death. If something is going on and the family wants it out there, then they'll let us know. As far as I know, he's still fighting. We're still praying for him. And that's pretty much it. That's, what we know is, and can say publicly, you've seen in the statement from Mississippi State. And we're recording this at about 9:00 Eastern time on Monday night. And that's kind of where it's at. And so I don't really like speculating on any of this stuff or talking about it because there's a real family dealing with a lot of real stuff right now.
Right. That's well said.
So that's that. If you're kind of wondering why we haven't talked about that, that's why. And so we are just going to keep going and pray and hope that things get better and coach recovers, but we're going to have to see what happens. So back to the discussion we were having on the transfer portal. We were talking about the quarterbacks, and I was mentioning that Devin Leary may be heading to Kentucky for a visit. That we've heard about Graham Mertz potentially being there, but Notre Dame's got an opening. DJ Uiagalelei's out there. UCLA needs somebody. Florida needs somebody. Hudson Card, former Texas quarterback, is out there. Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, who 2 years ago averaged 12 yards an attempt and led the nation. He's out there now. Max, if you had a team, if you were a coach, which one of these guys are you going after first?
All right, so I got my spreadsheet here.
Okay, nice.
Do you guys want to play a little game?
Yes.
Do you want to play this guy or that guy? And we'll
yeah. Oh yeah.
I love games.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. So let's do 10 guys.
Okay.
There's a lot. I have 9 picked out here. Okay. We got to pick one more. I'll give you a list of names. You tell me who you want to pick as the last guy in the top 10 here. Okay. Do you want Keaton Slovis from Pitt? Do you want, and I'm not counting guys who've committed, right? So I'm not counting McNamara and Yurkovich and those guys. Okay. Do you want Keaton Slovis? Do you want Andy's boy, Austin Reed?
Mm-hmm.
Do Do you want Drew Pine?
Yep.
Hank Bachmeier or Haynes King for the last spot?
Let's put Austin Reed in there. Although he's headed to Louisville, right? That's not a done deal?
I think he's going to make a decision on Tuesday.
Okay. I had been told that where Jeff Brom wound up is probably where he winds up. So
look at Scoops Staples over here. Okay,
I'm thinking it's Louisville.
All right. So do you want Slovis? Do you want?
Did you just Hank Bachmeier? Yeah, that's who I would have chosen.
Let's take Bachmeier.
Okay, Bachmeier.
He played on a blue field, for God's sakes.
Okay, let's do this. All right. Would you rather have? How do you want? You're just thinking about this is your team, right? This is just
yeah.
You're building your own. Okay. Would you rather have Hank Bachmeier or Graham Mertz?
You gave me a hard one right off the bat, bro.
Well, here's a question about Graham.
I don't want to let
go up the list.
I don't want to let go.
Right, Hank Bachmeier Hank Bachmeier's OC got fired in the middle of the season. That's when he hit the portal. Graham Mertz, it's hard to figure out. Was it because Wisconsin was falling off?
Where's the lag in the development there?
Right.
Yeah.
Wisconsin made a lot of changes. Like Joe Rudolph leaves, they hire a new OC. So I don't know that I want to pin everything on Graham Mertz.
The question is, do you still have hope that the guy can play?
That's what I'm saying.
At a very high level. Yeah.
Is there stuff we have not seen from Graham Mertz because he was not being developed properly? I lean toward yes. So I'm going to say I'll take Graham Mertz.
Yeah. You're going to throw a 5-star out there. What do you want me to do? I just can't let go. It's like I'm holding his hand. And I'm just pulling him back up over the ledge, man. I think that if you put him on a really
Graham, we were not wrong about you. We can fix this.
We can fix this.
But I also don't want it to be his fault because I feel like he's been raked over the coals.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Graham Mertz is advancing. Would you take Graham Mertz or Spencer Sanders?
Spencer Sanders.
Okay.
We've seen him produce.
I know there's a potential. He's one of those guys who'll do those oh no throws, but they become oh yes sometimes too. So I'll take that.
He gives you a lot in the run game too. Okay, would you take Spencer Sanders or Hudson Card?
Spencer Sanders.
I'm going tools. I'm going traits. Traits over production right now.
A few more years out of Hudson Card too.
Right. I have more eligibility.
Are we keeping in mind like who's more valuable based on the entire package or what quarterback you'd rather have?
Well, you guys just want to say whole package, or you want to say?
Well, then I'd probably take the multi-year
right.
eligibility.
That's a factor. That's absolutely a factor.
Then I'm with you.
Okay. Hudson Card advancing. Would you take Hudson Card or Luke Altmaier?
Luke Altmaier.
Both similarly. I looked this up today. So Hudson Card's played 500 snaps in college. Luke Altmaier's only played 144. So we don't know. We saw him play a little bit in that bowl game last year. We don't have maybe as good. He's been well coached, but we don't necessarily know what is the full ceiling and floor there.
And Jackson Dart had a pretty good year, didn't he?
Sure.
So it was. It wasn't
like he was Heisman finalist,
but it was productive.
Yeah. I don't know if losing a battle to Jackson Dart means that you can't play.
It doesn't. It definitely doesn't. But that's the thing. I feel like we're into some pretty good territory here. Like we've got some good potential at this point where you could land a guy who could be your star quarterback.
And Altmaier has 3 years, doesn't he?
Yes, because he has a COVID year.
So
I believe 2020 was his freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we advancing?
Let's go Altmaier.
You're on Altmaier. Okay. You're making this ranking really easy.
Well, I was gonna go Card, but we've got to move on through the
bracket. You're not dragging anybody up this thing. It's a pretty easy ladder.
Oh yeah. So far, so good.
Okay, so we're taking Altmaier.
Yep.
Okay. Would you rather have? This is a fun one. Okay. Would you rather have Luke Altmaier or Jeff Sims?
Ooh, I like Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims, I may drag up this thing.
Yeah. Jeff Sims, I feel like is the kind of the. Not necessarily a hidden gem, but the guy that you feel like, you put him in your system, give him another year of development.
He
might be able to do some really special stuff.
Yeah, Jeff Sims was my gut too.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Jeff Sims is an interesting one. Jordan Travis is coming
with injuries this year.
Jordan Travis is coming back at Florida State, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so he's coming back because remember Jeff Sims was committed to Florida State for a long time. And then got cut loose, and he ended up going to Georgia Tech. So All right. So
Jeff Sims.
I think Jeff Sims is a very interesting one.
Okay. Would you rather have Jeff Sims or Brennan Armstrong?
Jeff Sims.
Jeff Sims.
Okay.
But eligibility and like if I would put Brennan Armstrong wherever Robert and I is.
Sure.
So,
I think that's probably the natural move for Brennan Armstrong. I don't know who else he's considering, but
full disclosure, I've had some shekels on a few Virginia games this year, and he drove me crazy. So like I'm biased.
but he was awesome in that offense, and Robert and I is taking over the offense at NC State. Like that makes a lot of sense if that's where he winds up.
Yeah, he is one of these guys that like you are kind of wondering, all right, so like which guy am I getting in his case a little bit, because in last year 4,400 passing yards, this year 2,200 passing yards.
But
it's a rough year.
Yeah.
Complete change in the offense.
Sure.
If you put him back in the offense that he was in before, with, by the way, some really good players, if he winds up at NC State, like it'll be better players that, well, he actually had Jelani Woods on that Virginia team. So that they had a pretty good group of pass catchers, but he would have a very good group of teammates if he wound up with an eye at NC State. So I think he'd be very productive. I just think he's probably set.
Yeah.
it would
like we've seen as good as he can be.
Like and Jeff Sims has more eligibility, and I know I can get a lot out of him in the run game too if he can stay healthy. So I think I'm staying with Jeff Sims.
And you'll be the tiebreaker if Andy and I go in different directions.
That's fine. Forward. That's fine. All right, so we're taking Jeff Sims. All right, here we go. Stars mattering. Jeff Sims or DJ?
Jeff Sims.
Ooh. Oh, you're going potential because you feel DJ's hit his ceiling.
I think DJ is who he is.
I think you're right.
I also think that DJ could be a hell of a weapon as a runner. You'd have to beat the hell out of him, but I think that he would be a really hard person to stop if you had a.
So you're saying in the Chip Kelly offense?
Yeah, I just don't know if DJ has the skill set to do what we saw DTR do the last few years. Like that's not DTR.
All right, we know you want to run a power spread, so can DJ be your guy, your trigger man for that?
I mean, I think so. Through that offense, like I just think that he makes weird decisions and he has a wow moments, but he has a lot of what the hell are you doing moments. But if you're in a power spread, then you can just, you'll take your four. I mean, you got to remember, I covered 3 full years of JT Barrett. So like, I know exactly how good that can be if you put them in a situation where they have a ton of talent around them, which, say what you want about Clemson.
DJ has a much better arm than JT Barrett.
Clemson's receivers were average this year,
right.
They had a few guys like
Nyada's good. Wasn't walking through that.
Would you compare him to Cardell at all from what you've watched?
I think he's probably a more. That's a pretty good comparison. Like if Cardell would have played long enough where it was just his offense, I think you might have gotten to DJ territory, which is why he flamed out so quickly in the NFL. The thing about Cardell that was so incredible was that he did what he did in an offense that was rushing for like 8 yards a carry in the postseason.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like we never got to see Cardell have to face any sort of pressure to make a play on his own. And he handled it mentally pretty well. Like he could have shrunk under it, but like people forget that he turned the ball over, I think 4 times in the national title game. And they still won by like 26. That was like,
I don't remember that.
That was a bizarre game. But like, if you have Ezekiel Elliott and that offensive line opening up the holes DJ would win a lot of games, and he did. Like DJ wins games. Like I feel like I've been really hard on him, and it's just like not because I think DJ stinks. It's just because the standard of the quarterback position at that place has been so high for so long, and when it was put on his shoulders when they didn't have. If we given the kid Travis Etienne, like maybe it is, and Clemson isn't as dynamic offensively, but like in UCLA's offense, is that would you call that a power spread?
Oh yeah,
they tailor it to what he can do. Yeah.
But
as you guys know, so many great relationships start with the foundation of I can fix him.
Well, the other thing about DJ that we're not
that's the DJ challenge here for whoever's taking him next
is Mateo may be part. DJ may be a package deal with Mateo,
and if that's the case, then I would take him anyway. I would take him because
if you get an add-on, you're taking him.
Yeah.
If I get a 5-star defensive end who might be like,
well, no, I don't think Mateo's the add-on. in this equation.
No, DJ's the add-on, but he's the add-on in this scenario here. But I also feel like if you take DJ as an add-on,
does Jeff Sims have a brother that could balance us out? That's a tough.
But like, imagine taking an add-on that has to start at quarterback for you. Like usually in recruiting, the add-ons like, we'll give him a scholarship and he can bring other 5-star players their food at.
Let me tell you, but one of the best add-ons I ever covered was Deontay Foreman at Texas. He's doing pretty well.
Oh my gosh,
yeah, yes. I actually was surprised, Max, that it's taken him this long, and even to get to this point, he had to get there from injury. But like I always thought he was a really good runner.
Oh, yeah, that last year was strong. Awesome. He was unbelievable. Yeah.
All right, so Max, where are we? We've gone.
We're almost done here. We're almost done.
Okay.
So you are taking
Jeff
DJ
Sims.
or Jeff Sims?
No, we're taking Jeff Sims.
Okay, Jeff. All right, here we go. Well, I'm trying to think of who should go last. Okay. See,
who should go last is going to give away who you like the most.
Well, I kind of want to play to your loves, though, too.
I feel like the two you're trying to choose between are both very, very good.
They are. Okay.
And these are the two that we would just debate.
We're taking Jeff Sims, or we're taking Devin Leary.
Devin Leary.
Devin Leary has a legit NFL arm. He can move. He makes good decisions. I'm good with Devin Leary.
Yeah, it feels like
I also
all these guys in this list, he does feel like the safest. Like I know he was banged up this year, right? I know the pec injury.
I was just going to say, if you don't have the injuries, we might be viewing him a lot differently than we are right now, too.
Not viewing him at all in the transfer portal. We're viewing him in the context
NFL,
of the
maybe
NFL draft.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, Devin Leary or Grayson McCall?
I still think I'm taking Devin Leary unless I run an offense that is suited for great. If I run a more run-based offense, if I have a lot of read option game or even triple option principles in my offense, I'll take Grayson because he's done that and he's so efficient in it. And he's such a good decision maker in that kind of offense. I will say, I think Grayson can play in any offense. Grayson's not going to play his way to like a high NFL draft pick. Like he would have left college 3 years ago or 2 years ago if that were the case. This is in terms of physical tools, arm strength, all that, you're going to go with Devin. But the decision making, the toughness. I mean, Grayson's played through some injuries. Like,
what can we do?
Wouldn't you say too? Like both of these guys are just one thing you really want when you're making this move. I feel like these are two highly motivated guys going into 2020.
Yes. And now Leary's physical traits are going to be better. So you just have to. You're going to have to make your peace with that if you're taking Grayson. But you can tailor an offense around Grayson that will be very versatile. They can do a lot of things. If you got a couple backs that are good, like they do a lot of 2-back type stuff, or they'd have a tailback and an H-back in the backfield at Coastal Carolina. There's a lot of stuff you can do. And then look, Grayson may just be going to go play for Jamie Chadwell at Liberty. I don't know. But my guess is he's got some bigger name programs reaching out to him right now.
I just want to do whatever we can on this podcast to get McCall to Wisconsin. Like, can we do that?
Oh, man.
Could you imagine?
Phil Longo's offense?
That was Phil Longo, Grayson McCall, and Luke Fickell all in one place next year? That'd be a hell of a storyline to follow.
SC Scout guy says all the local media in South Carolina saying he might be going to Auburn. So that would be Philip Montgomery, the Baylor offense, essentially. That could work too. Read option. He will be a run threat because he's a very good read option decision maker. Or I mean, at Coastal, it's more of the triple, but quarterbacks understand, like, if you can read a defender coming at you to do the pitch and to do the dive, you can do it for a regular read option mesh too. So instincts are instincts, and he's got
them. Now, what's your read on, like, obviously, Andy, in that like recruiting pitch? If you're Hugh Freeze, you're selling him on look what I did for Malik Willis, but how much do you think it's like a Freeze offense versus like a Montgomery deal?
It's a good question.
If you had to guess today, I know it's too early to say.
They kind of mesh together though at a certain point.
Yeah,
there's a lot of principles that are similar. So, the Malik Willis comparison is you can't make it because Malik Willis has a kind of top half of the NFL quarterback's arm.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So that's a different.
I mean, insane physical natural traits.
He does.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him at the Elite
they got
11
him drafted in the kind of place Grayson's trying to play his way into. You know?
Yeah. No, I think could you imagine that with Freeze and Auburn?
But the thing is, Malik would have been drafted higher had he had a better final season at Liberty.
Sure.
Yeah.
But because of his traits, he dropped because he had a bad year in the last year. But his traits were off the charts. That's why he was being talked about as a potential number one, or potential first round draft pick. It didn't end up working out. He actually ended up getting drafted about where he should have by the Titans. So
hey, can I ask Max about one guy?
Yeah,
because I feel like this was kind of a big deal and nobody was talking about it today. Isn't Jerome's kind of a stud? Like, isn't that a big get for Virginia Tech? Like, he got lost a little bit, but I think maybe it deserves some airtime.
Yeah, you talked to the Baylor staff a year ago or in the spring or whatever. Like, they would tell you like there was not a bad quarterback in their room. Like,
I saw drones in the spring, and it made perfect sense when they made the Bohannon Chapin decision, because I was like, oh well, they got drones, so they're fine. They don't mind.
Right, totally. And so that's a case of a guy where you've got, we only have really had like a limited look at him. He had to go in that West Virginia game and had some good moments and some bad moments in that loss for Baylor this year. But yeah, like that's the kind of player that hits the portal, and you would think that like I think that's a pretty sneaky good one for Virginia Tech, because obviously some of these schools could hold out and say, well, we're after these three guys and we'll probably get one of them. But like smart, I think, of that staff to just go after him and feel like this is a guy that there's still some room to develop here. There's still some work to put in here, but like, yeah, that kid's got
it
some
strikes me as the type of transfer that in week 4 of next year, we're going to be on a podcast on a Saturday night going, oh, did you see what that kid did in Blacksburg today?
Well, look, we were just talking about, like, look at what Robbie Ashford did this year at Auburn, right? I mean, Robbie Ashford didn't have much tape at Oregon, but he came down and super dynamic in terms of the run game and stuff like that. Like, it's a young guy that's still got room to grow. I
think Drones has a better arm.
I think so too.
I think Drones has a lot of really good physical tools. Like watching him in that West Virginia game, I was like, wow, if this kid gets, his
the good plays were good.
The good plays were exciting. Yeah. And there are certain quarterbacks where the bad plays come with it and they don't go away. And I just don't know if we have enough tape to know whether he can grow out of it or not. But if he does, he's a really good player.
Yeah. This is a very interesting one. I want to.
Yeah, I would say too. Like, if we going down this list of quarterbacks, I don't know. Like, what kind of guy did you tend to recruit in the video game, Ari? What was your body type?
6'4". It was
so DJ.
Yeah, I like to get bigger quarterbacks that were harder to tackle and had big arms.
Okay,
which is funny because that's DJ, and I've been a DJ doubter. But they had to move. They had to be able to move.
So my type of guy was completely the Malik Hornsby type of, like, I don't care what he can do,
move it around
with the arm, as the speed has got to be maxed out, and that's what Malik Hornsby is going to be for his next game. That's another interesting one of a guy that he's played 200 snaps in college, and I can't wait to see if he goes to the right spot what he could be too.
Kind of want to see Malik Hornsby in Chadwell's offense. Again, I don't know.
Max, were you the guy that just used Michael Vick in that one year when he was just unstoppable in Madden? Are you the guy that had like 390 yards rushing?
Dude, I'm the guy in NCAA who only recruited athletes to play quarterback. I did not mess around with. Maybe once every 4 years you would take a real quarterback.
It turns out that you're a visionary, because some college coaches have been doing that for years.
Yes.
Back when I was in college playing NCAA football, before it got as advanced, I was running the triple with everybody. Like, I would turn everybody into the triple. So
what was your favorite NCAA football squad to run with, Max?
Actually, I want to heir Andy's, because he was playing that at a different era than you and I.
I played as Anthony Wright era South Carolina.
You know what I really liked, Ari, is I really liked I think this was maybe the last year of the game, but I really did like playing with the Braxton Miller Buckeyes.
Yeah, well, my favorite was
Oregon. I loved playing with Oregon. Oregon was the one that I would do.
I thought you were going to pick Pat White and Steve Slayton, West Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Because that was everybody's squad. But the thing that I am curious about is that if there are teams like that have two really explosive, playmakers on offense, how much a school's recruiting profile would be able to rise as a result of these kids playing that game. Because West Virginia. Everybody loved West Virginia when I was in college, in 2005, when they had, I don't remember, was it 05 or 06? One of those years when Pat White and Slayton and Devine were up. It's like everybody was a West Virginia fan back then.
So the game is delayed right now. So
yeah,
the people, like whoever's the big freshman this year, like the star freshman quarterback or the star freshman receiver or running back, is going to be the first star of that game. That's going to be very valuable for that person. Very valuable for that person.
Well, and like if they were doing it now, like you could probably put the Heisman winner on the cover, even if he's still in college in the future.
Oh,
right?
100%. Caleb Williams.
My expectation is that it is.
Caleb would get a huge. Caleb would probably. I mean, the payday on that, I would have to think would be pretty sweet for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I hope that they don't do it with an exiting guy. Like I hope that every year the person on the NCAA cover is the fun guy from the Heisman race the year before.
I think they're going to do that. I think, if it were this, like Caleb would be a no-brainer for next year. But
or Drew Aller, one of the two.
Yeah, let's say Drew Aller finishes second to. Let's say Caleb goes Archie Griffin. Drew Aller finishes second in the Heisman race, and Caleb's going pro, and Drew's coming back. Drew's on the cover. Like it's happening.
Yeah, I mean they should just give it to the Heisman winner every year. Like an automatic byproduct of winning the Heisman is getting a fat check from NIL for NCAA the following year.
And that person's much easier to market.
Yeah, everybody knows who it is already.
Sure.
So speaking of the Heisman Trophy winner and the team he plays for, I just, while we were recording, noticed a tweet from a person in the transfer portal on the side of the ball where USC needs the most help. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that because it feels like the opportunity's there, but will they take advantage? So we'll talk about that when we come back. Henson Shaving is a family-owned aerospace parts manufacturer that has made parts for the International Space Station and the Mars rover. Well, now they're bringing that precision engineering to your shaving experience. If you're watching on the video feed right now, here is a Henson Shaving razor. It looks decidedly old school, but as you just learned, it has some high-tech stuff in there. Razor blades are like diving boards. The longer the board, the more the wobble. The more wobble, the more nicks, cuts, and scrapes. A bad shave isn't a blade problem. It's an extension problem. But by using aerospace-grade CNC machines, Henson makes metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches, which is less than the thickness of a human hair. That means it's a secure and stable blade with a vibration-free shave. And they're exactly right. Seriously, Henson Shaving wants the best razor, not the best razor business. That means no plastic, no subscriptions, no proprietary blades, and no planned obsolescence. The Henson razor works with standard dual-edge blades to give you that old-school shave with the benefits of new-school tech. Once you own a Henson razor, it's only about $3 to $5 per year to replace the blades. It's time to say no to subscriptions and yes to a razor that will last you a lifetime. Visit hensonshaving.com/Andy to pick the razor for you and use the code Andy, and you'll get 2 years worth of blades free with your razor. Just make sure to add them to your cart. It's 100 free blades when you head to hensonshaving.com. That's hensonshaving.com/Andy and use the code Andy. That's hensonshaving.com/Andy. Welcome back. And a little news while we were recording, by the way, it was announced that Tyler Van Dyke has done a new NIL deal with Life Wallet, the John Ruiz led company that handles a lot of Miami's NIL stuff. So it looks like Tyler Van Dyke will be the Hurricanes starting quarterback in 2023. I think
we've got a re-signing.
That's right.
I'd love to see just re-signings like become normal, guys.
It was just like Quinshon Judkins last week. So,
dude, our boy Vaughn just brought up another name that it has to be mentioned.
Yes.
Okay.
Dennis Dixon.
Oh,
in the NCAA game. God, he was awesome.
He was so much fun. I remember watching that Thursday night football game when he got hurt, and you're just like, no.
Do you know I was standing 20 feet from him when that happened?
I remember it was against Arizona. He told me.
It was in Tucson. I was a student reporter. I had my notebook out. Just learning the tools of the trade there. It was awful.
Yeah. It's
unbelievable.
This is going to be.
I love playing with Oregon on the video game. I really did.
Well, and I think they'll continue to be fun. I mean, Dillingham's gone, but I think Dan Lanning understands what their personality needs to be offensively, which actually brings me to the point I was going to make originally. Lanning does seem to understand what Oregon's offensive personality needs to be. I'm still unsure if Lincoln Riley understands what USC's defensive personality needs to be if they want to win national championships.
Here's a good personality. They could just be good, kind of good.
kind of good's all it takes with the offense they have.
Kind of good.
That's exactly right. So, interestingly enough, as we were recording this, I noticed that Tony Grimes, who's a DB from North Carolina, who's in the portal, tweeted the fight on emoji and the words "fight on?" ? What is that? Is that him trying to get their attention, or is it him saying I'm in the mix here?
This wasn't during the Bud Crawford fight. This is about recruiting, probably. Yeah, this today.
Yeah. This happened. I think while we were recording.
I mean, do you think USC is just their board's just got to be best available, right? That's just got to be how they do this stuff.
Well, exactly, and I think you send Caleb to talk to them, or you just give Caleb the list of numbers to text, like, hey, this is Caleb Williams. Would you like to ball out with me next year? Like, but
wouldn't it be amazing if he just
great automated message just send out to recruits? Back.
Get the best receiver and 4 studs on defense, and they're going to the playoff next year.
If they could get a game-changing interior defensive lineman and a game-changing edge rusher, I don't care. I know I wrote about the philosophy that it has to change if you really want to win a national title, but that's going to put you in the mix. I think to beat a team like this year's Georgia or last year's Georgia or these Alabama teams, you have to have a defensive philosophy that makes it where you know how to tackle at the end of the season. And that requires a change in how you practice and how you play. And it might take a little away from your offense ultimately. But I don't think you have to do all of that to make progress. Like Ari said, just be kind of good on defense. Just be slightly above average. And all of a sudden,
just get yourself in a position where you're out of these games where the other team gets the ball and you know for a fact they're going to score.
Right.
Like that's the minimum of what you could do is just have, a little improvement on Max Olson's stop rate story.
Can we just move up like
just 20 slots?
Yeah.
It's kind of just not be embarrassing.
But if you I would say no disrespect to like Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, but like, is there a school better positioned over these next few months to clean up on the transfer market just by pitching guys that you're the missing piece for us? When you have Caleb coming back, I mean, I think that's kind of an easy sell to make to the best guys out there,
and especially you have Caleb make the pitch.
Yeah,
like I think. I mean,
you saw what he got it done with Jordan Addison. I mean, certainly he loves getting involved in these and swinging these, and so I mean, I think that's pretty easy to convince a kid if you're Lincoln Riley and that staff that hey, look, we are on the doorstep. We've got the best quarterback. We got the best player in the country. Like, come here, come start, and let's go get a ring.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so
let's get Ari this money.
I know, seriously.
Exactly.
I'll drop an NIL deal on one of these guys. I'll give him $500 as an investment.
Now the problem, Max, is the game-changing interior defensive linemen tend not to wind up in the transfer portal. This is funny because when I talk to people or meet fans out and about, they always say, well, how are they going to reward the linemen? Aren't they always just going to pay the quarterbacks with NIL? I'm like, guys, it is way more sophisticated than that. Mm-hmm. Like, they understand how this works, just like NFL teams understand how this works. Like, left tackles, D tackles, edge rushers, they're high priority positions. High priority. So that's the thing. Like,
how much could Jalen Carter command in the NIL market right now? Yeah.
off the charts. As Chris Callahan said, Jalen Carter isn't walking through that transfer portal door. What would it take? I mean, clearly a lot of
You've seen Breaking Bad, that door in the storage unit.
Huel. So basically,
you lay on the thing with Huel. Yeah,
you're gonna make this guy Huel laying in the bed of laying on the pile of cash. Like, that's the only way this happens. But Max, you know the numbers better than we do. What would it take to get a truly game-changing interior defensive lineman in the portal?
Well, this is the funny thing too, is like you say, like, I know there's a lot of people are on edge about, oh my gosh, the tampering is worse than ever and all that stuff. But like, if Caleb Williams calls a guy and says, hey, you should come play with us, is that really bad tampering?
I mean, it's tampering, but
punishable tampering.
You're not going to get him on it. How are you going to prove it? That was a phone call. That was a phone call. I didn't say that.
I was joking.
Private conversation between us.
Right. So like,
Nobody
I'm not saying this guy specifically, but like, why, like you say like, well, who will pop up in the portal and what will they make and stuff? But like, can't he just go call the Dallas Turners of the world and be like, let's go do this, or JT or whoever
I
he
don't
thinks
think
he
you
wants to
could
come
do
play
it
with
with
him at
Dallas
USC.
or JT because they're at Alabama and Ohio State respectively.
Sure.
But that's the thing. I mean, we talked earlier about the Coastal edge rusher who
Josiah Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he may wind up at USC.
But if you're him, like if you're Caleb Williams, do you want to go get the edge rusher from Coastal or the D lineman from Western Michigan, or do you want to go hit up some guys from the opening back in the day and stuff like that?
I just want somebody who's going to play on Sundays. I don't really care where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. If they can get an edge rusher who can play on Sundays, if they can get a 3 technique who's going to play on Sundays and be drafted, in the top half of the draft, like that helps you move to adequate on defense, which is adequate is all they need to improve.
The most frustrating thing about the USC situation is that they actually have guys on the roster that are really good.
Yeah.
Or ranked high. I mean, like they have Corey Foreman, they have Sierra Wright. Like, I mean, I think they signed in 2 classes ago the number 1 player in California at 4 different defensive positions. Rajon Davis was the top linebacker. I mean, it's not like they don't have people on their team. It's just like, let's get the most out of these guys.
There's dudes somewhere, is what you're saying.
There are dudes in certain places on that defense.
Not everywhere, just
not everywhere, but it's not like it's no dudes. There's dudes.
Right. And BSE in our YouTube chat, they also need to start recruiting big bodies. That is again, as I said, philosophical change that needs to be made. Now they inherited a 340-pound nose. They played quite a bit this season and did okay when he was in the game, but that's
you need to have a scenario though.
Have that
Tony
regularly.
Tony Grimes goes there. One of the defensive linemen we were just talking about goes there. Domani Jackson becomes a stud next year. Corey Foreman becomes a stud. Rajon Davis and Sierra Wright reach their potential. You could have 5-6 starters out of your 11 guys being former 5-star prospects that hit, and like all of a sudden that's how you turn into a defense that has. That is somewhere in the 60s in the stop rate instead of in the low hundreds,
Yeah,
sure. All I'm saying is like, so we didn't see like, Jordan Addison was a May transfer, right? I mean, we didn't really, that wasn't really telegraphed for months or anything like that. So, you wonder the power of Caleb and the belief in how close they are. It's going to be interesting to see. Are there some, those type of all conference, all America guys that go on the market now, or even at the end of spring, who just see the opportunity at USC and say, not necessarily unhappy with this place, but look what I can go do over there.
Also, they've managed to make it. And Ari, you predicted this when Riley took the job. They've made it very cool, very fast, and that's not something every program.
I legitimately thought it would be cooler faster, though.
Really? It's gotten pretty cool pretty fast.
No, I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, though, the results aren't quite what I thought they would be. I thought he would be a shoe-in top 5 high school state. I thought it was just going to be like. I thought it was going to be like when Urban Meyer took over at Ohio State.
But Ohio State has been good.
Yeah.
USC's got to prove they can be. But I think this season showed that. And you can talk your way into defensive players if you're Lincoln Riley. You're going, well, he just had you.
Do you know where USC's class is ranked right now off the top of your head?
It's not as high as.
Just take a stab at
it. 13.
14.
Okay. Yeah. I knew Oregon's like 11 or 12. I knew they were right there.
So you're on the right. And they only have 19 commitments. And they have 2 of the top 5 players in the country and 3 5-star prospects. So, it's a smaller class, but like in terms of star power, it's like really top heavy. And then you look at the bottom half of the class, it's just like,
where is it more top heavy? Offense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Quarterback, receiver, and
all right, Lincoln, just get to adequate. That's all we're asking. We know your offense is going to be very good. We know it's going to be awesome.
That's all I'm asking.
That's all Ari's asking. Ari needs you more than I do. Max, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure. Let's just book this again for next Monday night, because this is just how it's going to be in December from now on.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to you later.